I think the number one thing you need to be successful in sales, truly successful in sales, is a belief in what you do. If you do not believe in what you do and that it makes a real difference for the right people, then you're just a sales rep trying to get paid. If you believe that what you sell makes a difference, then it's the transfer of enthusiasm.
Oh yes, this is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. Today's show is sponsored by Ringmaster, on a mission to launch B2B podcasts that create relationships, generate revenue, and drive growth. Ringmasterlive.com. Bam. Here it is. The train has left the roller coaster station. We are going kick, 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 kick up the hill, and it's about to get real. We're about to start screaming on this podcast. It is about to go crazy. Why? Because my guest today is back. Back from when? Back from 2018, which we've decided is before COVID.
Yep.
BC.
It's the new BC.
He is back. Now, if you want his backstory, if you want to go back in time to the time machine, episode number 27.
Ooh.
27. We are past 400 right now. 27. Let's go. But who is this guest? Stop delaying, Casey. Stop teasing me with a crazy time. Sales leader, thought leader, but no. Record scratch. This is the guy you bring in to grow the sales. This is the expert. You mention this guy's name to anyone in the community, and they go, "Oh." And the AEs, they panic. They get cold sweats. Why? Because he's been doing this for at least a quarter of a century. The idea of making $400 a week, or serving as a VP of sales at a self-funded startup that got acquired by Staples, you name it. He has a community where his newsletter goes to over 50,000 people who want this wisdom. I am one of them. I am someone on this list that I learned from this list. I learned how to sell better. And you know what? If you're in marketing listening to this, you need to sell better too. You need to learn from this, and we need to better align with our sales side. A 3x LinkedIn top voice in sales, over 400,000 followers. I can't even count that high. Recognized as one of the top 30 social salespeople in the world. Can I say more? I can actually. Author of I Want to Be in Sales When I Grow Up, limited partner of the GTM Fund, advisory board member of Sales Community, CEO of JB Sales. John Barrows, welcome back, sir.
What's up, Casey? How you doing, brother?
Damn, I had to scroll on your introduction. It didn't fit the page.
Yeah, it's a little too much. I've been around for a while. I think that's probably longevity more than anything else, man.
You need to chill out, man. Stop doing stuff. I'll have you come back 400 episodes from now. The whole show will be your introduction.
Keep going, man. You gotta keep going. Gotta keep pushing.
Damn. Well, hey, man, it's like when you got an absolute warrior present, you got to learn from them. So let me pass you this thing. It's heavy. You know what? We didn't have the real one at episode 20,000,027. Here it is. All right. Go ahead. Take Thor's hammer.
Yep.
You grab it. You got it?
Got it. Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, the guy is strong. He one-handed grabbed Thor's hammer, the real one, I might say, from me. Okay, John, take Thor's hammer and smash some kind of marketing and sales myth, some bogus strategy, misconception, set the record straight once and for all.
Yeah. Personalization at scale is complete bullshit.
Boom. Shots fired. Okay. Record scratch again. Personalization at scale is bullshit. It's not happening.
I mean, it depends on what you call personalization, I guess. You know, it's the one thing I railed against this with Sales Loft and Outreach when they were doing it, because, you know, and this is something, even though Kyle's a good friend of mine, CEO of Sales Loft, I used to say, dude, just please stop it. It's an oxymoron. You can't be personalized at scale. Right? I'll take that back. You know, Amazon can be personalized at scale. Facebook can be personalized at scale because they literally know everything about us. And, you know, I think AI is getting there, but real personalization, I call it the give a shit factor, right? And it's the one thing that I think AI is never going to really be able to do. And it's the one thing that for some reason that humans can still sniff out. And maybe I'll be wrong in the next year or two, depending on how much better this stuff gets, which is getting better every day. But I call it the give a shit factor. Like, AI is never gonna be able to care. It can pretend to care, it can try to care, but fundamentally, it can't care. And I think that's the superpower of humans, is that if you care, it tends to come through in your messaging, it tends to come through in your approach, and it connects at a level that technology can't. So I actually want everybody to throw away every cadence tool they have. Every cadence tool. And or if you're gonna use a cadence tool, call it what it is. Marketing.
Spam.
No, marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing. I think the outbound engine right now almost has to be seen as marketing. Because if you think, let's use cold calling as an example, right? If you look at cold calling in a vacuum as like cold call, right? Like
Yeah.
it's absolutely pointless. I mean, okay, there's certain industries where it's better than others, but for the most part, so let me just make sure I paint this picture right. You first of all, you have to have the right contact information, right? So good luck with that. Two, you have to talk to somebody with a pulse other than a audit system or technology. Three, you then have to get through a gatekeeper, right? So you have to through that gauntlet now
Right.
first. Then you have to talk to somebody who's a quote unquote decision maker. And you think that whatever you're going to say, usually a 22, 23-year-old kid right out of school with very limited business acumen or knowledge, you think whatever magic's going to come out of your mouth is going to get that executive to go, oh, all those strategy, all that stuff that I've been doing for I'm going to dump all that and jump into a sales process with you because that was just one of the best cold calls I've ever gotten in my life. If you think that's going to happen, you're out of your mind these days, and you're setting yourself and your team up for absolute failure. But if you look at cold calling as an impression point, where that cold call, that voicemail, might lead somebody to go take a look at your email or your LinkedIn profile or your website, and then start that journey for them.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden I can start to justify making cold calls and sending out emails and those type of things. But it's a marketing function, right? It's no longer, in my opinion, a sales function.
What does it mean that for it to become a marketing function? Does that mean marketing does it now and sales doesn't do it anymore, or they need to understand they're doing a marketing function and behave differently?
It's just we got to go. We're going back to full cycle sales, man. The predictable revenue model ruined a lot of stuff, in my opinion. I mean, outside of interest rates ruining a lot of things and making everybody think they were way better than they were actually than when they weren't. The predictable revenue model was also good for us as organizations because it helped us scale, right? I mean, theoretically, right? You bring in cheap labor, basically, kids right out of school, you pay them back then, not very much. Now SDRs are making 100 grand plus, for crying out loud. So it's even worse, but you pay them a little bit and then you grow them into into an AE. And so theoretically it made a lot of sense for organizations to scale. The problem is it wasn't customer centric in any way, shape, or form. Never was, never will be. Nobody likes to get handed off 5 times before they actually talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Right. And so the idea of like a cold call happening now and catching fire and like hitting, think about it, right? I'm an executive. My time is, I'm busy and everything else. But say some kid actually does get through, a phone call happens, whatever it is, and says something. I'm like, wow, actually, that's kind of interesting. You know what? Let's chat about that. And then the kid throws up their hands and says, oh, sorry, I don't have that knowledge. I need to ask you my BANT questions here. And then we're going to have to wait a week to set up a call with an account executive. And then if I'm tolerant enough to wait that week, even though you just got me right there, right?
Yeah.
The likelihood is if I can't get value out of this conversation, man, I'm done. Like I'm over. Like I'm not going to schedule anything. But say I'm interested enough. Now I'm going to get on a call with an AE who's probably going to ask me the same stupid questions and then drone through maybe a demo that is a canned piece of crap demo that doesn't have anything to do with my needs. And then probably, most likely, I'm going to have to wait another week or two to get an SE on the phone who actually knows what they're talking about.
Right.
I'm gone by that point, man. I am so far gone. So the predictable revenue model, now it's even worse because now those young SDRs who are supposed to be our AEs, they don't even stay in their job. Forget not position, job. I think it's 14 months now. I think the average tenure of a sales rep is 14 months. So all that effort that we're putting into developing these SDRs so that they can eventually become this AE for us, That's not even a thing anymore.
Oh, yeah, the progression's not a thing.
So if you take the SDR model out of the equation and looked at it from a P&L standpoint, it is by far the most like cost ineffective division of the entire organization. I mean, think
Really?
about it. It's a cost. It's not a revenue generator. You think it is, but if you actually map out all the salaries, all the tools, the tech stack, everything that you give this team, I mean, your ACV better be freaking $8 million for it to
Right.
work these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it just doesn't make any sense anymore. And so we're going back to full cycle sales. My vision of the future is, you ever seen Minority Report? Remember that
Yeah.
movie, right? Remember how he's there between the screens and he's got the
Yeah,
gloves
yeah.
on and he's swiping
So
shit
cool.
back and forth and all that? I actually think that's what sales is. I actually talked to I talked to my friend this morning, old school sales guy. You know what I mean? Like older than me, 55, and he gave up his leadership role, and he's an IC now. He's an individual contributor, and he's got a territory, and he sits there and he just prospects all day into super high quality accounts because he's got his Rolodex, and he's like, dude,
Yeah.
I am loving life. He's like, I'm getting paid $250 a year to sit down and call everybody I already kind of know and make connections, and I hand it off with somebody else, and everything's taken care of. I get to go. I have an unlimited expense account. So you have all these field road warriors or
Sounds good.
leadership. Well, so my point is, right? The what we've skipped with this, especially with COVID and you know, my keynote right now, I'm actually positioning 2010 to 2022 as the golden age of sales. I tell everybody, if you got into sales after 2010, sorry, hadn't been that hard, especially tech sales. We've been able to get away with blasting out template emails, making generic cold calls, setting up disco calls with anybody with a pulse, droning through BANT questions, and then offering a massive discount. Like that's been sales. Okay. So we
Yeah.
have a whole, and then COVID hit and we put us into a virtual world. So now the reps who are coming into the sales world, they don't even get the benefit of being in the bullpen and learning through osmosis and just being around sales, right?
Yeah.
So that's why sales has turned into such a transactional business, because there's no more relationships, there's no more rapport, there's no more that develop. And these kids unfortunately don't know how to do that because they haven't been forced to do it.
Yeah.
So like when I was getting up in sales, I didn't have any good training, man. But I was in the bullpen. And so
Yeah.
like I was listening and like the kid next to me would make a cold call, be like, ooh, I like the way you said that, right?
Yeah.
Or like the VP would come over and talk to the kid next to me about a deal that they were working on. And I'd kind of be like, all right, what was that? All right, cool. So I just learned because I was around sales,
You're around the proximity. Yeah.
right? So I think that and AI for the reps that have business acumen, it's a superpower, right? But unfortunately, we've grown up in this transactional world where everybody's just looking for the easy answer, and AI gives you the easy answer these days. And so the problem is it does it better than we do already. And I'm what I'm searching for right now, and I don't know what the answer to this is. And I'm going to pick on sales, but I'm picking on every industry. Think about when you and I were growing up in sales and marketing and everything else.
Sure.
Like we had to pay our dues a little bit, right? We had to do the
Oh,
grunt
yeah.
work and the shitty stuff, and we didn't have all these
Bullshit
tools,
reporting.
all the
Oh, yeah.
reporting and all that bullshit, right? Making the calls and writing down stuff, whatever. And as painful as all that was, it allowed you and I to now be having this conversation, right? And business acumen, and we take this in any direction that we want, and we can talk
Right.
about business, we can talk about life, we can talk about whatever you want, right?
Same.
But now, and so that was kind of our like our breeding ground, if you will. Our training ground was our early years. And the client kind of tolerated it because that's just the way it was, right? Like it's like, okay, yep, I'm gonna get some junior reps and they're gonna have to cut their teeth and whatever, right?
Yeah. I'm kind of forgiving on the phone sometimes with that because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll hire you. Yeah.
All right,
See,
dude, let's talk,
give me
right?
my shot. Yeah.
But the problem now is that I think the tolerance for that's gonna go away. Because when you can, and I tell any rep that doesn't think they're in trouble with AI, just do yourself a favor. Go and go jump into ChatGPT and pretend like you're a customer. Pretend like you're a potential prospect, right? So for me, I would go in and say, I'm a VP of sales at a 50-person sales team. I have 20 SDRs, I have 30 AEs. I'm looking for prospecting training, and I'm looking at the JV sales training. Tell me what I need to know. What are the pros and cons? How does he compare against the other 3 top vendors on G2 Crowd? What's the pro, da, da, da. And when
Yeah.
you realize in a 5-minute conversation, you get more value than you would some 22-year-old kid asking you BANT questions, you realize how much trouble we're in. Because I think now that learning ground where you and I created the foundation of our skills and we got best practices and all that stuff, that's being now taken away because AI can do it better. So the two questions I have is, A, where do the fundamentals come from at this point? Because I don't know. But B, I think even more importantly, what are the fundamentals anymore? Like, w I oddly enough, man, I used to crap for the past probably 10 years. I've been crapping on, like, senior sales reps, right? Like, the fucking old school ones. Like, the ones who are like,
Willie Loman.
yeah, well, yeah, exactly, like the steak dinner and, and the golf ones. I'm like, "Dude, relations, maybe if you got a year left on your career, you can survive that, but value is the big relationship driver now, blah, blah, blah." I'm now flipping my opinion
I get that. Yeah.
because information AI is taking that is already better than we are. So if AI is better at us in every way, shape, and form already when it comes to data and intelligence and figuring things out from that standpoint, well, then what's left? Well, the human component, the relationship, the steak dinner, the golf game. So I actually think these skills, we might actually have to start doing training instead of tactics and skills and product knowledge, how to have a conversation, how to relate to somebody, how to look somebody in the eye, how to shake somebody's hand, how to act in a business setting, how to dress somewhat appropriately so you don't look like a fucking slob. Like, I think we might literally have to go back to that.
Like finishing school, right? Like
Right.
like spy school.
Yeah.
How to pretend you're an American. And you know what? Especially if you grew up going out to dinner and your parents gave you an iPad, so you don't even know how to communicate with another human.
Nope. Like eye contact, man.
Eye contact thing is weird, right?
Like, nobody has like, it's hard.
Yeah.
People are uncomfortable with eye contact. People are uncomfortable with silence. Everybody's always been uncomfortable with silence, but now it's almost like it used to be like, 30 seconds of silence. It's like, all right, now I'm starting to get uncomfortable. Now it's like 3 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
It's like, I gotta, what's going on? Like I did. It's like, dude, just like, why don't we all just sit here in silence for 10 minutes and see what happens? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I don't know. I just think we're headed into a world where the human component has to be human
Yeah.
because everything else is going to be taken care of by AI.
Almost like, JB Sales is like human training turns into like, and like also, there's like there's a module of like how not to be an asshole, right? And then also, a little bit of that, God, who's that guy? How to win friends and influence people, right?
Bring it back, Dale Carnegie. Bring it back, man.
Bring it back full circle,
Or like how to be curious. Business acumen stuff. How to what is learning business, learning learning what a P&L is, learning going back to CapEx versus OpEx, learning how decisions get made. Just business stuff. Forget about techniques. Forget about tactics. Anybody can learn that shit. It's learning how to be a human and care. Going back to the give a shit factor.
It's funny, man. I got an email this morning, and man, I've seen all these all the time now. It's like prospecting spam, a little bit AI goes, Casey, impressive. You did the Cheshire Impact, and now you're doing the podcasting thing. But, I caught it in the very first sentence because it did one of those M dashes, a little double dash that no one uses.
Yep.
I by the way, I put that online. It's not like 3 weirdos were like, I use them. I'm like, well, you're an exception, friend.
Yep.
So where are we going with that? Is that now, like you're saying, that's the marketing function, and we got to?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way, right? I think the problem with AI is for us, at least my perspective here, is when it's pretending to be human. If I know something's created by AI or whatever it is, I'm actually interested. I'm kind of like, oh, cool, right?
Yeah.
But if it's but that's if it's like, it's kind of, remember back in the day when chatbots first started hitting websites.
Yep.
And you were like, whoa, right? Like this thing's the most, and you thought it was a human, right? So you'd go on a website and then you'd be like, hey, how can I help you? And be like, oh my God. Like, and after like 2 or 3, you'd be like, this is the most responsive customer service person I've ever got. But then after like the 3rd or 4th chat, you were kind of like, wait a minute, this isn't a human. You know what I mean? And as soon as you got that sniff that I was duped, now no matter how valuable it was, at least for me, no matter how valuable it was, I discounted it. I'm like, oh, you know what? Screw you.
Totally.
Then Drift came out with their chatbot. And the first thing that the Drift chatbot did was, as soon as it would introduce itself, I'm a chatbot. Like, I'm a robot. But let's see how far I can get you. And if I can get you pretty far, I'll eventually hand you off to a human, but let's see if we can get you pretty far here. Then it was like, oh my God, yeah, this is incredible. It's the same thing with AI for me. Like, it's, I'm getting AI cold calls these days, right? And I can tell.
Ooh,
oh yeah, no,
really?
The local fire department, right? Local fire department, they're always, and I remember vividly, I get the same call. And it's a script too. So it's almost like they should, right? Because they just had old surly guys reading scripts anyways. But a few years ago, I'd get on and every year I'd get the same pitch, right? And I would say, hey, do me a favor. I get it. I get this call from you guys every year. I'm not going to give you my credit card number over the phone. Send me something in the mail so I can get that piece. I will then fill this out. I'll put a check in there for you and I'll send it over to you, right? And usually, oh, yep, sorry, man. Da, da, da. So fast forward, I think it was last year. Surly voice, right? And hey, John, I was a fire department. Hey, how you doing? And I'm like, and I stopped. I was like, hey, we go through this every year. Could you please stop? Sorry. But then it kept going in the pitch. And I'm like, dude, please stop with the pitch. Like, I get it. Please put the script down. Oh, sorry. And then it kept going. And it took me 3 times. And I was, oh my God, this is fucking AI.
You've been chatting with an AI for 2 minutes.
And guess what? I haven't donated since.
Yeah.
So my point is that I think where it's going, this is why I think AI, that the marketing is going to take it over, because why do we hate spam, right? It's irrelevant, right?
Irrelevant.
I mean, most of the spam is irrelevant. Like that, it's in my inbox. I don't care about this stuff. Get out of my inbox, right? So it's irrelevant. But why do I like Instagram? Well, I've trained this this algorithm's trained me. Okay.
For sure.
So now everything that's in my feed is something I want.
Yeah. 100. Dude, they have cracked my code. Oh, I bought 2 or 3 things one time. I had to stop myself,
I have a Celtics wine bottle. There's not even wine in it. There's not even wine in it, by the way. Who needs a Celtics wine
You
bottle?
do.
Of course I do. Because I fucking love the Celtics. And so it knows me so well, right?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that, and that's B2C, but you're telling me there's not enough information out there about you and I on LinkedIn and on the stuff that we do on the podcast that we run and all that. You're telling me that AI can't go out there and between all the shit that I post on LinkedIn, all the stuff that is out there, my lining me up with Crystal Knows and figuring out my personality profile. You're telling me that in a couple of years that my inbox isn't going to be filled with super relevant, super personalized content. And if I get something that's super relevant and super personalized, not just personalized, but personalized and relevant for where I am and what I need.
Right.
Do I give a shit whether it's coming from a human or not?
No.
Now, do I want to talk to a human? Sure. Yeah. But I think the key is value. It goes back to that relationship of, it's value.
Mm.
People say, well, I'd rather talk to a human. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't.
Sometimes they have attitude and they don't have the answer.
I only want to talk to a human if I can get value out of the conversation with a human.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put some dipshit kid that's not going to give me any value, but has a really good tone and is a really nice kid, and then some AI bot that's going to give me exactly what I need when I need it and nuance, then I'm going to want to talk to the AI. Like it's a stupid argument.
Hey, we're getting trained to use it more and more. Like I have conversations with ChatGPT and I've even told, hey, give me the short sweet and I'll let you know if I want more. But it does. And I totally hear where you're going, man. Like we are training ourselves to get information, man. A little chit chat with Grok and then boop, boop, answer. Great. Thank you. I don't want to talk to someone. I don't need to.
And now with agents, man, I'll tell you right now, I walked out of Dreamforce and I literally, I did a post. I was like, so where does the sales rep fit in this equation? Because like the agents were so on point, they were so responsive, they were so, you know what? I mean, okay, fine, yes, major complex sales and all that other stuff, but man, the majority of, and by the way, this is where I think sales is getting so squeezed because marketing is coming down with the AI stuff better and faster and more personalized than sales could ever be, right? Clients want, because of the lack of value they get from sales reps and those conversations, they don't want to talk to us. I mean, there's a stat that I always put out there. It's 2022. Gartner put it out that they averaged out boomers, Gen Xers, and millennials and the B2B buyers of complex sales. And that on average, 43% of them wanted a rep-free experience. They did not want a sales rep involved in the sales. And that was back in 2022.
Wow.
It's not gotten any better. Okay. So they would rather talk to an engineer. They would rather talk to a customer success person. Right?
Anybody who actually knows what's going on here, right? Yeah.
But that's the bad news. The good news is that they found that of those 43% that wanted a rep-free experience, they had a 23% higher regret rate. So they regretted the decision more when sales wasn't involved.
Wow.
Which tells me that there's a lot of value for us to add. It's just different than ever has been before. And so that's why I think it's an 80-20 rule across the board at this point, man. I think Pareto's rule is going to be absolute, right? Where 80% of sales reps are going to get wiped out. They're going to be irrelevant, no value, no need. But 20% of them are going to be invaluable. And I mean that. They're going to help people make decisions. They're going to help them navigate through, help them figure out what the options are, help them leverage the AI to get the right answers and information. So those are the ones that are going to survive. But the rest of them, man, it's not even a if at this point. It's a when.
Is any of that stuff about know, like, and trust, and we buy from people we trust, and like, if you got all the right answers from AI, though, like what?
Well, because you're not going to trust AI, because there's going to be an inherent lack of trust on AI. There should, well, at least there should be, because think about it. My concern with AI right now is, well, there's a lot besides the Matrix and Terminator, but
Right?
But no, my concern is that we've gone from a search engine to an answer engine, in the sense that when we Googled something previously, we can all argue that Google fed us whatever it felt like feeding us, but at least it gave us options, right? So we could kind of scroll down and pick our source of truth and be like, okay, this is the one I want to read, right? Whereas AI now is saying, nope, here's the answer. And inherently, it can't be correct because it's pulling off of the internet.
Yeah.
Like, which is obviously not exactly factual.
And it never doesn't know. Like, I feel like you trust things that tell you they don't know.
Yeah, every once in a while, I'll be like, dude, that's a good question. I don't know about that. Let me, you know what I mean? But this is like, nope, this is exactly what the answer is. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
come on. Like, I don't know. And the problem is again, going at it as a superpower. If you're curious and you have business acumen, you take that and you're like, tell me more about that. Where'd that come from? Like, and you go down the rabbit hole of learning, right? Whereas the other 80%, and I'm being very generous here, 80% of people are just going to take that answer, cut, paste, and send, or regurgitate whatever it is. And if that's the case, those people, what's the point of those people?
Yeah. Right.
What's the point of those people? It's like, yeah, it's like I used to have a friend who, my first company that we started was an IT services firm, right? And I used to be pretty good at tech, right? But when I had like 50 engineers around me, I got wicked lazy because I would have a Slack and I would be like, hey, could you fix this? I got this problem. Could you fix this for me, right? And after a few years, a buddy of mine said, John, do you know what you do every time you Slack me a question from a tech standpoint? I go, what? He goes, I take your exact question, I open up Google, I put it into Google, and I pick probably the first or second link on that, and I send it. And I'm like, shut up, do you? He's like, every time, John. I'm like, oh God. So my point is, like, if we're that lazy,
yeah,
what's the point of the sales rep as the middle person?
Yeah.
If all I'm saying is asking it a question, getting the answer, regurgitating it to whoever it is, then why doesn't that person just ask the question to ChatGPT? Why do I have to be there? So I think that's why trust matters, right? Because if I can take that and learn from it and then have this conversation with you and be like, yeah, I've searched the same shit. Let me share with you why that's not all the truth, or that's why there's another way of looking at it. Why here's another layer that you didn't consider, or whatever it might be, right?
Man, mind blowing, because in my mind, it's like, oh yeah, listen, at some point the AI is going to be like empowered, like Instagram on crack. And then you can't say no to it, but you need a human to go, hey, I'm here just to make sure this is the right decision for you. And when I unleash you to the AI, it's going to convince you and you're going to buy it. I can't even stop it at that point. I'm just here with like a little red button to go, maybe this isn't for you. Otherwise, it's going to convince you,
It'll
and
convince you.
it knows more than I can tell you. Right.
Yep.
Wow.
So this is what I picked up, and I still live by this. Gary Vaynerchuk back in 2017. I had met him, and I used to train the Why You Now email, which is all about personalization, all this other stuff. And I trained everybody at Salesforce and on that technique. And I'd do the whole day of training, but it was really to show you how to do that email technique. It was gold. You know what I mean? It literally worked like a magic.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and then in 2017, a couple of reps left Salesforce, and they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, John, we created," and this was back in 2017. They said, "Hey, we created this artificial intelligence bot that creates super hyper personalized emails at a fraction of the time, and it's based off of your email, and we want to show it to you." And if I was like, "Yeah, dude, whatever. Like, sure. How good can this stupid thing be, right?" And dude, what they sent me, I was floored. I mean, floored. It was so personalized, so perfect, and I was like, "Whoa!"
That was when? Back when?
It was 2017.
Damn.
And I pinged them and I said, "Hey, wait a minute. There was no human involvement in writing this?" And they were like, "No human involvement other than picking the article to use from our app." And by the way, it took like 50 seconds. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And so I literally had a panic attack, because now what I train is now a Gmail plugin. And I was like, "Oh my God." So when I met Gary about a month later at his office, he has this like 4D session where you can go with 10 other entrepreneurs, and then you do a Q&A at the end with him. And I said, "Gary, like I just saw a robot write an email better, faster than I ever could. Where does that leave us as sales professionals? Like right?" And he goes, "Don't worry about the tech. You're not going to beat it." He goes, "Just be the last mile." I said, "What?" He said, "Be the last mile." He goes, "Let the tech do all the heavy lifting. Let it do the research. Let it even write the email. But right before you hit send, make sure you humanize it. Because as long as there's a human on the other end of whatever it is, whether it's an email, a Zoom call, or whatever it is, we have a chance." And I don't know about you, but that double dash that you said in that email,
Yeah.
like I get AI comments on my posts on LinkedIn all day long. I get AI emails every day, and they're really personalized and everything, but I can always tell that they're AI written. And I don't know how to describe it other than to say they just don't have a soul. Like, I just don't know how to put my finger on it, but I personally think there's always just gonna be something that humans, that a technology can't replicate, that a human sixth sense is just gonna be like, "Wait a minute, something's off about this." And so that last mile, I think, is really important, right? Great. Do all the heavy lifting. Write the email for me. But first of all, let me read this email. Let me first of all learn from it to make sure I'm not just like throwing this out there, and then maybe just put a little flavor on or reword it a little bit in my style right before I hit send. That's the type of thing I think we gotta lean towards, which again goes back to the 80-20 rule.
Something messy about humans, right? Something dirty. LinkedIn comments. I've messed around with some of those tools, and I really I almost always write the first thought or something to trigger it, and yeah, write all the rest. But yeah, like it might write some cute thing, but really a comment from me is like, "Woo," like, "That's crazy." It's like something with like different capitals. It's messy, but it's real.
Yeah. And look, ideation, ideas, no problem. There's definitely where I'm struggling to even think of something to write. I'm like, give me 5 ideas of what angle I can take on this post, because I want to write something. I might have writer's block, or like what I wrote, I didn't like. So I'll go into AI. I'll be like, "Hey, I'm trying to come up with an interesting angle on this. And here's my here's what I said. And I don't like what I said. but here's the angle I'm trying to get to. Could you give me like, 5 different ideas on different angles I can take for this post and maybe write a little blurb for each one of them? And it's like, all right, yes, that's the one. All right, now let me pull on that thread and let me now explore that myself, right? That's where I think it's, like I said, a superpower. I think it is for people who are genuinely curious, for people who have some type of business acumen or actually, I don't even think business acumen, because I think you can use the AI to improve your business acumen if you're curious, but you have to be curious. You have to give a shit. Otherwise, you're just you. That's why I talk about AI as automation, augmentation, not automation. If you are looking for AI to automate, I think it's a fool's errand. I think you're just automating yourself out of a job. You're automating yourself out of existence, basically. But if you look at it as augmentation, to give you the tools to get better as a human, like, now we're cooking with gas.
Yeah. If you take curiosity and you break it down, like what goes into, what is that?
Yeah. So I've explored this a lot on my podcast. I asked almost everybody, are you born with curiosity? Like, and when I say curious, I mean genuine curiosity, right? Like, are you a genuinely curious, or can you learn it?
Yeah.
I personally think, after talking to a lot of people and doing a lot of self-reflection, I think people are either born naturally curious or they're not. Okay. However, I think you can become curious, but it has to be based on it. The only way I think that works is if you're interested in something. So this is how I teach people how to get involved with AI who have not gotten involved in AI. Because, like, AI is for people who are not familiar with it, right? It's a scary thing. It's like, holy shit, where do I even start? Like, okay, and like, write me a better, and they do a dumb prompt, like, write me a good email, and then they look at it and they're like, this is dog shit. Like, I don't get this, right? Because they're not curious enough on that email to go deeper on it and to get it better, right? So I tell them, like, what's something you're really interested in? I don't know. I love my kid. Okay, cool. How old's your kid? 5. Oh, do you read your kid bedtime stories? Yes. Okay. What's your kid's favorite characters? She likes elephants. Okay. I want you to open up AI, and I just want you to say, hey, I want to write my daughter a story. I have a 5-year-old daughter. I want to write my daughter a story about elephants, and I want the elephant to mimic me and blah, blah, blah. And I want to see, and so ask me a few questions about what message I want to get across to my daughter, and help me write a children's book about elephants. And just write that, and then see what happens. And then the thing will write you some awesome story, right?
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh my God, hey, could you make the elephant, like, could you give him a wife and make the wife's name this, and then make it a baby elephant here and make the baby elephant do that? And it's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then at the end of that, you like, see, you were curious because you were interested in it, and you'd see what it ended up being because you were like, oh my God, tell me more about this. This is so fun. This is so cool. Well, now you just have to figure out a way to shift that to your clients. You have to way to shift that to your research of, like, caring about the client that you're reaching out to. So then you can become curious. So, like, here's something that I told my team when I had one was, we all, everybody gets their top 25 list, tier out your accounts, whatever.
Sure.
On the basic demographic stuff, like industry size, number of locations, all that shit. And I would say, okay, get your tier 1 list, your top 25 tier 1 list. Now, but before you can reach out to them, I need you to go and research these companies. And I want you to come back to me and tell me why you personally want to work with that client. What's the connection here for you? Forget about any trigger events that they're going through, mergers and acquisitions or opening up new offices. Like, no. Why do you want to work with that company? Is it because they have really strong core values? Is it because you think their product or solution is just awesome? Is their leadership really, really thoughtful? Do they have really high scores on G2 or on, Glassdoor or something like that because they really invest in it? What is it? Because once you can make that connection of, like, I want to work with this company because I believe in them or whatever it might be, right? Now all of a sudden your messaging becomes a lot more genuine. Your research becomes a lot more interesting because now you're interested in that company. And when you're interested, you then become curious about how you can learn more. And that's, I think, the trigger. So I think it's incumbent upon us as leadership to make that connection with reps about interest leads to curiosity, and give examples in their real world life of what they're interested in to show them that they are curious, and then figure out how to translate that to the business side of the house. It's just the same as what I used to do when I would interview, because early days when I was growing my first company, I remember Jack Welch. So I worked for Jack Welch for a couple of months, but before that, that's a whole nother story. It's a fun one. But before that, he came to Boston. I was young, and it was about a few thousand people, and he does a Q&A, and I had asked him, "Hey Jack, we're 50 people now as a startup, and you talk about passion, right? And all this stuff, and I'm like, I just feel like, when we were 10 people, we were all super passionate. When 20 people, super
Yeah.
passionate. 30
Yeah.
people, super. I go, it feels like we're like the 51st person, and they don't have the same passion that we do for this business." And I asked the dumb question at 25 years old. I said, "So how do you instill your passion on somebody else, right?" And he said in front of about, I think it was about 10,000 people, he's like,
Nice.
that's a stupid question, right? He said, "You can't ever instill your passion on somebody else. You have to hire for passion." And so that immediately changed my hiring profile. And I stopped asking about skills and background and experience, because I can teach all that stuff. What I can't teach is drive. I can't teach passion. And
Hmm.
so I would try to, and so going as it relates to like connecting with other people about curiosity, I would say in my interview, I would ask the simple question. So what are you passionate about? And
Yeah.
by the way, I didn't care what you were passionate about. I just cared how you explained what you were passionate about. Because if I said, "Casey, what are you passionate about?" And you were like, "Oh, I really like working with customers, and I really enjoy teamwork, and it's like, that's what you're passionate about? Wow." But if you're like, "Holy shit, fucking Jason Tatum right now, and the Celtics are like, they're on fire right now. They're so disrespected in the league. Jason Tatum should have been the MVP 3 times over for crying outside, and blah 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 blah. And Jason Pritch, please, man, he's dropping bombs all over the place. We got the best starting five in the whole fucking league, and everybody's looking us over, and da 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 da." Like, I don't care if the Celtics had nothing to do with what you and I are talking about. The way that you explained what you're passionate about, it's my job as a manager to figure out how I can take that passion and somehow connect it to what we sell. It's
Wow.
the same thing with curiosity. So it's like, how can I connect with curiosity, and see if this person is enough, even for the stuff that they're interested in. Are they curious, right? And if they are, great. Now my job is, how can I get them interested in their development? How can I get them interested in their customers, in their prospects, in those type of things? Because if I can get them interested and make that connection, they're gonna become curious.
Man, so powerful. I immediately, I casually ask that, and oftentimes I'll ask that at the end of podcasts. But the idea of asking that on an interview, no brainer, has to be in the process. Gotta find out. On the business side, having a rep go research that company and explain why they personally want to work with that company. Love to dig into that more. By the way, when you were saying that, I was like, oh my gosh, I need a poster on my wall of you with your cool backdrop, just being like, "Casey, go tell me why," you know?
Yeah.
So but it's like you have to find a reason, so, like, go figure it out.
Yep.
Go
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, just poke around for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, look on LinkedIn. Is the leader posting really cool shit? Go on, was it not Rev Genius, RepView? I think it's RepView, because in RepView, that you can actually go and see like who's rated highest in certain categories. So like, I think like reps rate company on like leadership, on values, on all these different things. So whatever's important to you, go find the company that's on that list and say, "Okay, I want to see the top 10 companies who have high employee satisfaction and care about, investing in their people," whatever it is. Okay, cool. Well, now let me see if that's true, right? If it's not just a logo that they use, but like, let me learn a little bit more about them, and let me just get to know this customer. Oh, and by the way, while you're doing that, why don't you kind of put all that stuff on a Google Doc so you can use those things? But that's a different story. But it's not hard to start there and look at companies and say, "This isn't a company I care about," right? It's the same reason. It's the same thing that we have to do right now for our own businesses, for our own sales rep. Because somebody told me this early in my career, and I still believe it to this day, that sales is the transfer of enthusiasm. If you believe, I think the number one thing you need to be successful in sales, truly successful in sales, is a belief in what you do. If you do not believe in what you do and that it makes a real difference for the right people, then you're just a douchebag sales rep trying to get paid. If you believe that what you sell makes a difference, then it's the transfer of enthusiasm.
Interesting.
And so, but then you get all these kids out there being like, they don't give a shit about what they're selling. It's just like some SaaS product.
Right.
Who cares? I'm just trying to get paid, whatever. Well, okay, I get it. I sold copiers. I sold Xerox copiers to the government.
Yes.
Talk about not giving a shit about copiers. Like, talk about a commodity,
Yeah.
right? How could you possibly get passionate about Xerox copiers? You can't. Because guess what? For me, at the time, Xerox was the best copier industry, the best in the copier industry.
Wow.
I talked to customers and I asked them, like, why do you work with Xerox? What's the difference? And they would tell me, oh man, we used to have these and now we have this. And oh man, I got so much time back. I can do so many better things or whatever it is. It's made me so much more efficient. Da, 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 da. So I started to see that, ooh, these actually do make a difference for people. This isn't just a button push, paper comes out. Like, oh, I sold to the Secretary of State and the Treasury of Massachusetts. Oh, these multi-million-dollar copiers print everybody's checks in Massachusetts. So wait a minute, what I sell gets everybody in Massachusetts a paycheck that they then support their family. And if that paycheck doesn't come, they're in trouble. Ooh. Huh. I guess what I do sell does matter.
Yeah.
That software, that HR software shit that, what the hell ever I'm selling. Did it help that HR professional have a better conversation with somebody who was going through a hard time and give them a little bit of reprieve because they needed some time off because they were struggling with some things? Yeah, it did. Oh, okay. Now, does that mean your product's the great fit for everybody? No. But man, for the right person, woo. That's why I think as leadership, I wish every leader would, for the first month of a new hire, wouldn't give them product knowledge at all. Zero product knowledge.
Okay.
Nothing. It would be talking with customers. The first month of your job. I want almost every sales rep to be a customer success person first.
Yeah.
I really do. Or customer or shadow customer success for a couple of months. Shadow account management for a couple of months. Learn the stories, learn the issues, learn what happens when a sales rep sells the wrong solution. So learn all that stuff so you can have some empathy. So that when you become an actual real sales rep, you can have stories, first of all.
Oh yeah, plenty of stories. Yeah.
Right. And you have real empathy, so you're not just stuffing something down somebody's throat.
Dude, what is your training evolving into? How are you helping people now these days?
Yeah, so look, I've moved away from, they're still there, but like the tactics and the tips are all still there, no question about it.
Yeah.
The problem with tactics and tips these days is something that worked 6 months ago is just not working anymore right now. So I've really shifted towards creating an agile structure that people can use to test different approaches and try different things, which I think, I'm trying to turn every sales org into a sales lab. It's kind of like engineers. You know how engineers have hackathons and they kind of make something, they nerd out on it for a little while and figure something out. Yeah. I actually think we need to turn our sales orgs into sales labs and do the same thing.
I love that.
Right? Just get together every Friday afternoon, pick something. I don't care what it is, doing better research, coming up with better insights, prepping for meetings more effectively, dealing with gig, whatever. I don't care what it is. And break up in little teams and say, hey, everybody, you got an hour to figure out. Whoever figures out a better way of doing this thing than what we're doing right now wins the day, right? And then everybody kind of works together. You got a senior rep working with a junior rep. You bring the engineers in because they're good at prompting. You bring the marketers in because they can do it. And so now we're all collaborating on one thing, and then we figure something out, and whoever wins, yay. And then next week we all see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. I love about that is the intentionality of that, because oftentimes we are doing that. We're just not keeping track of the results. Someone's just doing better.
So just do it, right? And do it frequently. Because but it's micro stuff. It's not like this huge new process we have to implement. It's not
Right.
like this new methodology we're doing. It's like, hey, how should we prepare for a disco call? Like, what's a better way of preparing for a disco? What are better questions we can ask during our disco call? Because right now, where our disco calls are not, we're not converting our disco calls because I don't feel like we're bringing enough value to the table. So we need to figure out impact and pain and those type of things, and we have to come up with a hypothesis. So I want you to all play with GPT right now and figure out what's a better way that we can approach a meeting from a prep standpoint and how we run that agenda and what hypothesis. And all right, y'all got an hour. Giddy up. And then each person stands up and say, well, here's our theory is that if we, and we did this and we prepared this way and whatever it is. And everybody's like, man, that sounds awesome. Great. Next week, every disco call, why don't we all use this format, see what happens? And then about it at the end. Hey, how'd it go? And it could be a disaster, by the way. It could be an absolute disaster. That's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, totally, man.
It's like, hey, somebody threw me out of their office because they thought it was a stupid thing. Okay, cool. Well, then let's not do it.
Hey, sometimes an actual no is a lot better than the mushy stuff that goes on 3/4.
No is the second best answer. Yes is obviously the best. No is the second best. And maybe your no response.
Pretty damn good.
Yep.
No response. Now that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, there's another one. That's another one. Ghosting. So we have a problem with ghosting, everybody. We have an hour. Everybody go into ChatGPT and say, hey, what's the best way to not get ghosted from a client? And figure out and play around with a bunch of ideas. Whoever has the best approach for not getting ghosted from a client. Oh, check it out. John Barrows has this post called qualification call follow-up process where he uses an email that says, did I lose you? And it says it gets why don't we try that? Okay, cool. Right.
I'll take that over the breakup email. God.
Oh God, don't even get me started on that. Yeah.
Please select from one of these options, 1, 2, or 3.
Stuck under a rock, the hippo, the getting chased by a hippo. Thanks, Loft.
Yeah. Someone sent me that on LinkedIn yesterday, and not too proud of the fact that I just ranted back at them and told them I was a 4 to go jump off a bridge.
There you go.
Man, dude, this has been so powerful. You are both futuristic and realistic, and we were having I feel like I am more prepared for better leveraging what AI can do, but also really recentering on what humans can do. And man, I can't wait to better prepare for discos, but also have a why before I even get on the phone with someone, just so I give a shit that much more. I want everyone, generally speaking, to do well, but to get specific on why I want them to do well. I mean, that's going to be so powerful for me. Dude, where can people reach out to you? Where do you want them to go?
Yeah. No, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, so probably the website's the easiest because that's where everything is. So it's jbarrows.com. I just launched my whole new platform, whole new membership site. There's a ton of free content on there. You'll see podcasts, which is Make It Happen Mondays. You'll see my newsletter where I send out every single week. And then LinkedIn, obviously, I'm there. The only thing I will say, and I know this sounds like a humble brag, but it sucks. It's I've reached the 30,000 limit on LinkedIn for connections, so I can't accept any connection. Do request unaccept. You'll get a templated email from me saying, sorry, I can't accept your connection. But other than that, you can still follow me on LinkedIn. You can still engage with me, send me emails and all that fun stuff. And actually, the best way, if anybody ever wants like any type of free consulting or answer a question, Instagram actually. So if you go on Instagram, it's John M as in Michael Barrows, Barrows. That's my handle on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok, and everybody else. But Instagram is when I answer DMs too. So just DM me with a question. I'll get right back to you.
Dude, so sick. You know what? Hey, 2018, baby, I made the cut.
There you go.
We're connected. Damn, I'm going to hold on to that one.
You'll get an email. By the way, you're going to get an email you're going to get an email from my assistant. It's going to say, hey, we're cleaning up John's connections. If you want to stay connected with him, give him a thumbs up. But if not, we're going to delete you within 48 hours.
Shit. Quick message. Don't delete me.
It's just because engagement, I guess the way LinkedIn works is when you post something, it releases it to a percentage of your 1x connections. And if your 1x connections engage early, it blows it up to everybody else. But if they don't, it kills it. And because I've been on LinkedIn since the beginning, right? I was member 36,142.
Damn.
So I have a lot of probably very old and very not active connections. So I'm just going through and basically saying, "Are you still there?" Right?
Yeah.
And if you are, give me a thumbs up and you'll stay connected. But if you're not, I'm gonna purge. So
Well, shit. I mean, half those people are probably dead too. I mean,
I mean, at this point,
at this point, all the old sales reps. Dude, this has been so powerful. Thank you for coming on here, teaching us, getting us thinking about the future, getting us recentered about how we approach our customers in a new way. Dude, super stoked. Thank you so much.
absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah. For those listening, if you learned something, I freaking know you did. I literally have 2 pages of notes, front and back, and then some. Man, share this with one person, 3 people, 9,000 people. Good information in other people's hands, man. That's thought leadership. Who is suffering from this? Next time you get some bad spam, man, just send them a link to John. Tell them they need to get trained up. Next time you get an AI email, tell them, hey, you got to fix this. You got to fix this. Talk to John. Dude, thank you again.
Thank you, man.
All right, everybody. This has been a crazy cool, very enlightening episode of the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will see you all next time.